Hello, sir.
How are you? How are
I'm
you?
well, Mr. Reid. My name is Nye McGee with EUR Web. Thank you for giving me your time today to speak about this very exciting project, Miss
Yeah,
Cleo, Her Rise and Fall. I feel like this is the movie we've been waiting for, but not realizing we've been waiting for it.
I know her spirit has been waiting for it, so the story can be told in her point of view. So
Exactly,
it was a
exactly.
pleasure to be a part of that. I mean, that's what my life is all about right now, is telling those stories that most people have overlooked or have forgotten.
What
Hmm.
initially drew you to this story, the story of Miss Cleo? Why did you decide to bring her journey to the
Yeah,
small screen?
I think it was the death of the story when, and I have worked with Jamie McCoy, the producer, on a few projects. I don't do a lot of work now. I'm so busy with my own businesses that, but I really was taken by the story because I'm a product of television, and like everyone else, not only in front of it, I watched it, and the Psychic Network was something that caught all of our attention in the late '90s, and she was the premier star of the Psychic Network, and her bravos, the way she did it, we knew it was not real in a sense, the accent, but he did it with such um, power and with such commitment that it was intriguing. It really was intriguing, and it launched many shows like that. And she was at the forefront of that. And then to find, and when I got the script, I looked at it and I thought about it. I said, "This is a context that most people will never know about her. The battle behind the scenes. Sometimes the story behind the scenes is actually more interesting than the actual front story that's being told, the narrative of the story." And I found her behind the scenes story, what was happening in her life, the complexities of her life, the chances that she took, the things that she did. I mean, they were um, it wasn't her finest hour a few times, but somehow she managed to weave her way through it. And I think Robin, Alan, Lady of Rage, I wondered, I said, is she going to be able to open up to those complexities? Is she's going to be able to play the lady behind the screen. The lady we saw was made up, but how do you go in and put depth and context to the character who you're portraying? And I think she definitely did a wonderful job. It was a pleasure watching her, and not just directing her, but watching her go through the various changes that she had to go through, the various moods that she had to summon, the various. I mean, it's an interesting story. The rise and fall is Robin played all of it, so it was that part was for me the most joy. It was difficult because now we make these movies for television, but the funds, the movies that I was making and directing and producing were in the millions, a million here, 2 million. But when you're making TV movies, you have to work with the amount that you have, and it's very difficult. Not everyone pulls it off so interestingly and with such complexities. And Jamie, the producer, uh, he really made it easy for me with all the difficulties that these movies have, short amount of time, the things that happen on the best of what you want to happen not always happens. Sometimes you get to the set and you can't use that set. You got to go somewhere else. And so it's a lot of hustling. It's a lot of, as I would say, bob and weaving. And if you have a good crew, good actors, Sean and Ian and all the others, my wife, Daphne, who portrays Miss Cleo's mother, they have to be flexible. And this was a very flexible and involved crew and cast. So for me, it was difficult but fun.
So, what made Robin the perfect choice to play Miss Cleo?
Well, that question comes a lot when you're dealing with actors who are in another genre, music, you know, hip hop, rap, whatever it is. When they go in there, you wonder if they can make that change. But Jamie felt that not only she could do it, she felt that she was the right person for the job. And then when I met her, um, a few weeks before we were to start shooting, we went out to lunch and I talked to her and I asked her point blank, what do you want? And you know, a lot of people don't understand that question. But if you ask it in the immediacy, if you ask it when you first see someone or your first date or whatever it is, first job, what do you want? People will usually be truthful. But if you wait a little time till they think about it, they're gonna come up with a, you know, artificial intelligence version. You know, they're gonna come up with something that's gonna hopefully make you feel right or choose them or but when you find that first thing, and I asked her, and she was very personal about what she said and what she expected from this, and she came with a blank canvas, and she says, "Okay, I'll work with you, and you know, you may have to explain some of your decisions, and but I'll be open, and together we can explore this character." So it was more really of not directing her, but exploring the character with her. And we discussed things, and there were some things that she felt one way about, and I felt another. But I said, let's between you and I, let's look at the character. What's good for Miss Cleo? What are we saying about her? We don't want to rewrite her life. We want to delve into her life and show the colors, the complexities, the mistakes, but also the joy, the excitement, the sadness. And are you, you know, if you can do that, and Bob and we even get through that, I think we got a great picture. And I think she did, I would say, not better than I expected, but she was freer than I expected. I didn't, you know, because I'd never worked with her before. I knew of her, and of course, knew of her career. But I think people are going to be very surprised and pleased at how she portrayed the context of a life like Miss Cleo's, which was no shrinking violet.
Well, I just can't wait to watch so I can hear her say, "Calling me now," the
Oh
infamous
yeah,
Cleo.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll get plenty of that.
Yes. So
Well, I'm old school. I come from a tradition. My mentors were people who, you know, uh, they back in the day when film was a director's medium. So you work with the writer, you get the writer, you give your, you know, it's not a battle, but it's a interpretation of what the writer intends, and then what the director can find in it that excites and gives them a vision. Because the visual vision is not different than a writing vision. It's more reality. The visual vision, so that might write fine. It may even read well, but at the budget and at the situation and at the short amount of time we have, how can I pull that off? How can I make that not only believable, but take it to a depth where the viewer will accept this as the story. So we you have to work together with the writer, and we work together. You know, a couple of passes, a couple of rewrites. I put some things in that he was like, "Well, I don't know," and he had some things where I went like, "I'll try to make it work," and then we come to a compromise, and then you know, I take over, and the director again controls the flow, the vision. That's the job. And if you get lucky and get actors like I had, very talented actors, they brought, you know, sometimes you just roll camera and you give them a sense of not where you want them to be, but what you expect from the scene. What is, you know, it's like I was trained by people always ask the actor. You come into a scene, you go, "Where did you just come from?" They say, "What do you mean?" "This actor just walked in the room, but where was it an hour ago?" That's not in the script. It's just where, and so it helps the actor to give more life to the character. And when you leave the room, where are you going? Well, what does that got to do with now? Just tell me where you're going. What do you? And so you basically you give the actor purpose, a sense of purpose. It's not just running through scenes and saying words. It's the life of this character. So you have to be coming from somewhere, going from somewhere. Things just doesn't, you know, land down like you've been beamed in. You know, beam me out, Scotty. I'm through with the scene. Um, and so I like doing that with actors. And you find when you give them that kind of freedom to think about their character, that they bring you things sometimes that, surprise you. And these actors, some of the best in terms of improving, not the words, but the setup, the emotion, the feeling. There is some ups and downs with Miss Cleo, some very difficult. She had a difficult life, and the tragedy for me of her life is that here was a woman who literally created the visual aspects of a whole genre of television,
Mm.
psychic stuff. I mean, everybody spun off from her, and she was the least supported. I mean, in terms financially, they made billions of dollars. He didn't get it.
Wow.
The story is, you go, man, she made some mistakes and did some things that her character suffered for, but he should have been more, um, what is the word, given more than what she received. She gave a lot more in her portrayal of her life and the commitment and the chances she took. And a lot of other people around her made a lot of money, a lot of money.
So is this
And
story going to show us why she was not properly compensated?
yeah, yeah, it story deals with a lot of her. When I say truthfully, um, I mean in terms of the character, you understand her more. You get to the depths. You see her victories. You see the power that she had, and you see how all of us, and whatever we do, especially in entertainment, sometimes we get into our business, including myself, and you find yourself being led more than you find yourself traveling forward. And and you have that in television. You have that in movies or whatever. Is that the actor or the in your life as an actor, the way your career goes? A lot of times, it's not that you don't have any say. It's that you commit yourself to a certain level of allowing someone else to pull the strings until you say, you know, sometimes you're asked to sell your soul. I mean, in a way about what you'll accept, the kinds of things. And it certainly happens to Black actors back in the day. Not so much now because it's driven more by celebrityhood and how many hits you get. If you got 1 million subscribers on any of the social media platforms, somebody will hire you for any reason, just, hey, go sell this, hey, be in this movie, just walk through it. Don't, I don't have to act, just go through it. I'll see you, you know. And but back in the day, you had to fight. You had to fight for your position. You had to give in sometimes when you didn't want to, and you had to make compromises. And she made a lot of compromises that came back to bite her. That's for sure.
Wow. Now hold on, I'm looking here because I had to remind myself. Miss Cleo passed away in 2016.
Hmm.
So in your
Tragically,
research, I'm sorry, say that again.
I said tragically, yeah.
Yeah, right. Um, in your research while you were preparing for this production, did you have to turn to any of her family, close friends to kind of fill in some missing parts, fill in some rumors or speculation to get clarity to help you kind of flesh
Well,
out the story?
yes, I didn't directly speak with many family members, but the producer and the writer certainly involved themselves deeply in that. The material that was written, there were things written. I mean, there was a documentary. I understand it's going to follow this, but what I wanted to do as a director was get to the irony of her life. There are a couple of things that are missing in a lot of uh, writing and movies production now. That is context and irony. As a performer, as a comic, when I was doing comedy, it was always what struck me and made me laugh, or made the audience laugh more, was the irony of the scene, not the word that's being said, whether it was a four-letter word or what. It was the irony. Why was the character saying this? What and where did it come out of? I was told many years when I started in the business, that I said, how do you be successful? How do you make money doing this? And they said, well, if I tell you, you won't believe me. I said, what do you mean? So if I tell you, you won't believe me. It's so simple. I said, what do you mean simple? I said, how? He said, all you have to do is make the audience go, and you can make $1 million. Jaws, that thing came out of water. Billy D. Williams came out of the shadow, and Lady Sings the Blues, and every woman and a few men in the audience went, you know, you make the audience laugh, Richard Pryor, you know, you make them do that, and you'll be a millionaire. Now, that's simple, and a lot of people try it, but you got to have the passion. You have to have the kind of career understanding of that. So it's not just artificial like it is now. They do that all the time in social media. You see car accidents and people flipping and flying, and you go, huh? Well, that's artificial. That's a negative energy that you're responding to. But a creative energy that makes you do that, you'll become a star.
That's right. I love that. Very good.
It's true.
So I know this story touches on Miss Cleo's story touches on themes of trust, exploitation, redemption. How did you approach these themes in your direction to resonate with today's audience?
We did it head on. I mean, I think we didn't avoid the things, but we paid attention to the story, where we are in the story. Um, and we tried to put some context to that. So when she had scenes where something went wrong or something wasn't right, or like you said, tragedy or mistake or outright darkness. I mean, how does a character deal with that? You know, you want that emotion to be seen. You want that feeling, and you have to give her the space, but you also have to give her some direction as to what do we want the audience to feel. And that's kind of the way I approach those things. What do you want the audience to feel? Is this necessary right here? And there were a couple of things because of the time and the limited amount of space we had, that the view that I wanted to show, the thing that I wanted to come out of this particular scene, not that it wasn't possible, but it's you can only have so many minutes to explore these things when you've got a limited time. And so we talked, she and I would talk and we go, not how do you feel about this? I know how you would do it given you doing it, but let's think about her. The conditions around this scene, children in the other room, the woman over here, and you have to think about your actions based on all of those people, because they will. Do you want your children to remember you doing this or saying this and all that kind of stuff? And those things we talk about, and it really depended on not only what we want the audience to feel, but also what we wanted the character to feel. Because sometimes if you playing, well, I wouldn't do that. I said, well, then play that. Let that be hard for you to do. And in that, you come out with a very interesting scene. And there are a couple of scenes in the movie that happened, and it was like it was against her personal. I said, yeah, but what do you want? What do you want this character to feel? I said, play your frustration with this, play it, and she did, and the scene worked.
So I have
So
to ask Mr. Reid,
that
did you or anybody that you know personally call Miss Cleo's hotline back in the day to get you some psychic advice?
well, I didn't call it, but we tried to create. I had a partner back then, Butch Lewis, and Butch Lewis wanted to do a show using the format, and it was more of a spiritual in giving people good advice and all that kind of stuff. So we got in that. So I had to watch a lot of Miss Cleo before we did the pilot for the show that Butch wanted to do.
Oh,
It
so you
didn't
did a
work.
binge watching of Miss Cleo before you started this project?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
oh yeah, way
wow.
back. Yeah, yeah. No, I thought she was. People forget, the memory because of social memory, cramming down our eyes and throats and minds every day. So much material. We forget the concept of time, and we don't remember things like that. But Miss Cleo was the supreme agent of that kind of uh, television, way before reality shows and women wives of Atlanta and all that stuff. She was doing things in a reality base, and we knew it was it wasn't acting. We knew it wasn't her, but it was so doggone entertaining. Again, we're watching, and we have a few scenes like that in the movie where you're watching people, not Miss Cleo. You think, man, they're buying that, and they're buying it because she was so good. She made you believe that she could give you the advice, and you know what? In some cases, she gave some great advice, and some people followed it. There were more people who were taken by it and lost money and all of that than that were successful. But actually, in a few cases, in watching the show, few people took the advice and had a better life. And that's what everybody was hoping for. It's like playing the lottery. The odds are so far against you, but people play it. Why? The hope that this thing can change their lives. This person can say what they need to say and change their lives. The story is we don't know how their lives are being affected by what they're doing. And that's what this story is about. This story is about someone who gave a moment of hope, a moment of people wishing for the best for themselves. Yet her life behind the camera was in turmoil. Her life was, and everybody around her were making fortunes, billions of dollars. And she was struggling with her belief system. She was struggling in her soul. She paid a heavy price, a
Wow.
much heavier price than most people know. And that's what the
Wow.
movie's about.
A lot of people don't know that. I'm so glad you're bringing this story to us. That's so
Well, a lot
sad.
of people don't. Well, it's you know what it's not so much. It's cautionary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad when a puppy gets run over. It's sad for a lot of things, but the cautionary tale of human involvement is what drives movies. I mean, it drives entertainment. It's in the pain of a love song. I mean, it's the tale of that, and it happened to you, or it could have happened to you. That's what keeps us going back. And I just hope that more stories like Miss Cleo, especially when it comes to Black life in America, and not always the downside. Nobody knows the lives that I went through in the civil rights era, all that stuff. There was times, believe it or not, where we had a great time because we were fighting for what we believed. There was a power that I find missing in a lot of moves now. We're mostly all keyboard radicals. We type on the keyboard and let our radical and active uh, activism show itself. That's not real. It being safe in your house looking at a monitor screen and being out there in the street with dogs facing you and people in white sheets and policemen beating. That's a different world. And I think that's what entertainment or movies or television can do. It can take you there. It can put you in that situation. And we need to put America and the rest of the world in more situations where they see us differently than how they have created us. And that's what I'm glad that Jamie called me and I got involved with this project because we tried to be as close to what we felt about this story than just telling the story and making a genre film where we wanted to show you the sadness and all that. No, we wanted to really try to put some context to this. That's what's missing, I think, in most stories. Not so much today, because we have so many more writers, so many more actors and actresses, and so many stories are being told. But, I remember and was there in the 70s and the 60s. And I got fired because I wasn't Black enough. And someone gave me a lesson. Some hip white dude that played basketball with us in New York was writing the script. And he said, "No, this is the way you should play it." And I looked at him and said, "Oh, good. You're really good. You actually are Blacker than I am." Of course, I got fired, but those are the days back then. The
Wow.
Jeffersons, good times, all written by white people. all written by white people. So that was a life that people knew of Black people, but it wasn't real. It wasn't even close to real. And the characters were interesting, but real life in the projects, then and now, different. Because see, the irony of the project is what I would write about. Why were the right projects created? Where did that money come from? GI Bill, how come they didn't give it to us and help build Black communities like Levittown? How come they built projects that we couldn't own? You know, they give you a few dollars a month more if you had a job, but the man couldn't live in the house. So that creates a story that we see, but it doesn't, unless you tell the truth or at least expose the what was behind it contextually, the context of projects. Why are they there? Why are some of them still? Why did they tear down Cabrini Green? How do they make money doing that? The system. Why did they build freeways through all the Black communities, separating the well-to-do Blacks from the project living Blacks and all this stuff? To me, I find that interesting. Those are the stories I would tell the story, but the context, the irony of the story behind the story. And that's what Miss Cleo is. Miss Cleo is the irony of the context behind the story. A woman rose to fame and fortune and was destroyed.
Mm.
And there were people who played and put her in that position who to this day are still making money. They were
Wow.
billionaires.
Wow.
That's I think of this story, I think our involvement being the producers, Jamie and the actors, I think when you have people who have that kind of passion for telling the story get involved, you get, I wouldn't say a different story, you get a different view of life. And that's what is being changed now. And I'm happy to see it with so many people telling stories. I just wish that they were a little more the activism. If to be an actor or writer and you are not an activist, bothers me. Every actor. I remember a meeting with Harry Belafonte one day, and he said, the job of an actor is to make the comfortable uncomfortable and the uncomfortable comfortable. I go, oh, I get that. So if you have no activism, please do something else. Don't, sing something else. Don't, I don't care what you do, but don't be in the business. We need activism in our business now. We need people who rise above mediocrity, telling stories, and they'll make money. They'll make fame, but we need more of them. I'm not saying they don't exist. They exist in the movies I love when I see it, but we need more. The problems and condition and the madness in the world is too great. We have to counter that with another vision.
Amen to that.